Tribedi sir, are you connected?
Yeah, Dipti. Am I audible?
So yes, sir, you are audible. So can we start, sir? There are around 55.
So much of eco, Dipti. Yeah, now it is okay.
Okay. Analji, we can start now.
Yes, ma'am.
A very good morning to all. Disasters where we can, and to reduce disaster losses where we cannot. With this, I welcome you all to the webinar on disaster management in hydrocarbon sector. The webinar is being organized with faculty assistance from NIDM Delhi for and management of disasters. I now request CGM HRD, LND and CSR, Mr. Rajiv Ranjan, for the welcome address.
Okay. Thank you, Dipti. A very good morning to one and all present here. Thank you for joining us from various locations of Indian Oil Pan India for the webinar on disaster management in hydrocarbon sector. We all know Indian Oil accords topmost priority to conducting its business with a strong environment conscience, ensuring sustainable development, safe workplaces, and enrichment of the quality of life of its employees, customers, and community at large. Under the Disaster Management Act 2005, NIDM has been assigned nodal responsibilities for human resource development, capacity building, training, research, documentation and policy, advocacy in the field of disaster management. It is our pleasure to have with us renowned speakers from oil and gas sector and professors from National Institute of Disaster Management, Delhi. I take this opportunity to welcome Mr. VP Mahavar, former Director ONGC, Mr. Hirak Datta, ex-IOC, former ED, OASDM, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, and former Advisor and Head Safety, Nayara Energy, Dr. Jagmohan Singh, ex-Chief General Manager, Geology, ONGC, Professor Surya Prakash, Head, GMR Division, NIDM, Mr. Anil Kathak, YP, GMR Division, NIDM, and also MR Dwivedi sir, our CGM HSC Pipeline Head Office. The major outcome that we expect from this webinar is to enhance the capacity of stakeholders of the oil and gas sector in assessing crucial preparedness and readiness of various departments to respond during any disaster and emergency. Thank you.
Professor.
Sorry, madam, can you repeat? I couldn't get your words. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah.
Keynote address.
Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, my very good morning to all the dignitaries and the delegates of this webinar. I thank you for moderating this particular session. We welcome the collaboration with the IOCL in the field of disaster management. And I welcome everyone who has been involved with this program in organization and the current conduct of this program. So before we go ahead with the academic session, I will just put before you the brief background that we have started with disaster management almost about 3 decades back. In 1990, after the UN declared IDNDR, that is International Decade for Natural Disaster Reduction. Slowly, with the progress that was made globally as well as at the national levels, we realized it's not only the natural disasters, but also disasters created by human beings, anthropogenic and in terms of technological as well as the industrial disasters. So all kinds of disasters, they were considered. And at the national level, we came up with a Disaster Management Act in the year 2005 on 23rd December. And this act actually resolved most of our conflicts in terms of the definition of disasters or disaster management, as well as in terms of institutional mechanism and financial provisions, as well as offenses, penalties, provisions to be taken up for disaster risk reduction and resilience. 79 sections. And as part of this act, it was legally made mandatory to prepare disaster management plan in all development sectors. So all the sectors were proposed to prepare their disaster management plan in guidelines as per issued by National Disaster Management Authority, which is chaired by Honorable Prime Minister. So this was going on, and some of the authorities and the departments, they have prepared their DM plans. And these DM plans, actually, we have three-tier administrative system, that is national, state, and district. So all these three levels, we have our disaster management authorities who are actually looking after all these works related to monitoring and management of disaster situations. So these were the steps which have been taken up, and NDMA has issued guidelines after the enactment of the act, as well as policy and plans. We had a national policy on disaster management, which was released on 22nd October 2009. And also, we had our national disaster management plan, which was first prepared in 2016 and revised in 2019. These plans are actually following certain agreements that we have done, Government of India has done at the international level, which includes Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, Sustainable Development Goals, and Paris Climate Agreement. Besides the New Urban Agenda that was also enforced, agreed by Government of India. So these three agreements, they were followed up later on. These were actually given in 2015, but in 2016, we had the first post-Sendai and 7th Asia Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction at New Delhi, which was inaugurated by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, where he has actually given us 10-point agenda on disaster risk reduction. And the first point under this 10-point agenda was the imbibing the principles of disaster risk reduction in all development sectors. That means all development sectors must look into the disaster risks that they are likely to get exposed or they are likely to generate those risks. So both ways, risk reduction and resilience is required. So this is what it was envisaged. Further, in those 10 points, the Honorable Prime Minister has also given a direction for using the technology, which is also envisaged in the National Policy on Disaster Management as well. So Prime Minister said, let's use state-of-art technologies for disaster risk reduction. And another more important point, which was emphasized in those 10 points agenda by Prime Minister in 2016 November from 3rd to 5th, was the 9th point, where he emphasized that opportunities from recent and past disasters should not be lost, and we must document the lessons learned and implement them in our way ahead. So what we are trying to do through this, that we have learned a lot of disasters that happen in hydrocarbon sector, particularly oil and gas industry, where they have suffered a lot. However, the recent example from the Bagyan oil well 5, which got triggered on 27th May and continued for almost 4-5 months till it is extinguished recently by the fire numbers which were imported. A lot of resource has been lost. On 18th June 2020, Honorable Prime Minister took up a meeting and discussed this issue and emphasized that there is a lot of need for training and capacity development in this sector also related to disaster management. And this was also directed by Honorable Member Secretary, National Disaster Management Authority, Shri GVV Sharma ji, through his letter to the Secretary, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, where he actually advised them to contact NIDM, National Institute of Disaster Management, which is one of the institutes which has been established as per provisions under the Disaster Management Act 2005. So it was advised to develop a curriculum and include disaster management in all trainings related to this sector. So we interacted with most of the PSUs which were working under MOPNG, and we have ventured into development of short courses initially to apprise the sector about the DM provisions. They have been working on hazard in terms of their health, safety and environment division, but not in terms of disaster management. So basically our aim is first to learn from this disaster situations in this particular sector by inviting experts, sectoral experts from this area. That's why we have involved people from ONGC, Oil India Limited, IOCL, and other such organizations. So we will be trying to learn from them, from their experiences, and also sharing our knowledge related to disaster management and how the plans should be prepared. In the disaster management plans, we have certain formats and guidelines, and which need to be actually integrated and linked with our disaster management plans at the district, state and national levels. So this is what is actually required. Slowly we will be also facilitating the preparation of disaster management plan as per national, state and district level guidelines that need to be followed. Plus, we would also be involving sometimes the local authorities, which is also one of the chapters, chapter 4 in Disaster Management Act, where urban local bodies and PRIs are also involved. So how to integrate the system of disaster management with the system of development sectors in various areas. That is basically the aim. So we would be sharing some of these informations. As I outlined about the National Disaster Management Act, we have talked about National Disaster Management Policy. We have National Disaster Management Guidelines. They are guidelines specific to the hazards. For example, earthquake, cyclone, flood, fire, landslides, etc. And also specific to the operations and cross-cutting issues. For example, gender-based, community-based guidelines are also there. So we have almost more than 30 guidelines which are available at our websites, nidm.gov.in as well as at ndma.gov.in. Further, I would like to inform that in case we are not able to avoid the disaster situations, we have to act efficiently in terms of our response. And we have well-equipped, trained, skilled human resources in terms of our National Disaster Response Force, which is already pre-positioned in different parts across our country. So they are also continuously monitoring this. Further, our Ministry of Home Affairs is actually the nodal ministry for disaster management, and it has developed its standard operating procedures And also in the national plan, the responsibilities, nodal responsibilities at the national level for disaster mitigation, for disaster response, as well as for early warning has been well defined. So we have national organizations which are looking into the disaster situation and giving their forecast and prediction. You may be listening to recently the forecasts related to Nivar which has been made, and we were able to monitor it well, and it helps a lot. It is said that early warning saves lives. A stitch in time saves 9. So our investments in terms of our early warning systems, in terms of our proper risk assessments, and also prevention and preparedness actually brings a lot of good benefits in terms of economic losses that are actually avoided. It is said that if we invest 1 rupee in prevention and preparedness, we save at least 10 rupees. 10 to 100 rupees, that is the ratio from response and recovery. So a lot of other things are required in the post-disaster situations. So we have a standard practices of disaster management, which also includes the damage assessment and loss assessments as well. And those techniques need to be known to other sectors as well, so that they are integrated and linked and synergized with national, state, and district level efforts. So this is how we have to create. Another more important point that I would like to inform in this inaugural is that a lot of resources are required in disaster situations. As you know, the current pandemics, which most of us are facing, including the people who are from the oil and gas industry, they have also faced the setback because of the pandemics. Now, this pandemics doesn't know the sectors or the persons to where it belongs. So it can affect anybody, anywhere, at any place. So we have to take all the cautions in terms of the 3 golden rules, which the Honorable Prime Minister has said, that is wearing mask properly and trying to follow face and hand hygiene and keeping safe distance of 2 meters. So these are some things which are to be followed by everyone. So one should know, besides the operational risk management, which is being done by most of the industries or the sectors, the geographical risk or the anthropogenic and other kind of risk from the neighborhood or across the borders. So those are the things which need to be actually brought into our setup and our plans so that we can prepare well. I was going to tell you about the resource issues that most people will say where we are scarce of resources. At national level, we have actually created a portal called India Disaster Resources Network, and wherein we are listing all the resources which are required for disaster management, and they are accessible to all our disaster management authorities and the concerned officials who will be responding to disaster situations at all levels, right from the national level to the district level and the local levels. We have emergency operation centers which work 24/7. And let me inform you this also, that even in the current pandemics, the provisions of the Disaster Management Act were very, very useful in terms of controlling the spread of this disease. So all these lockdown, unlockdown procedures and guidelines mostly have been done through the Ministry of Home Affairs, which could enforce those guidelines well because of disaster management. And this has also been well realized by our courts, which also endorse that the provisions of Disaster Management Act must be properly implemented, which would help us in reducing our risks and becoming resilient. So I think it would be good to listen to experts from the sector to know about the situations before we actually resolve those issues. So let's learn how the different incidents and impacts of disasters on the oil and gas industries, and what are the lessons learned from them, or recommendations made by earlier commissions, or changes required in SOPs related to all that. So I learned that there are emergency risk and disaster management plans being prepared, but these need to be updated as per the standards and guidelines, and also regularly revised so that the prevailing situations or the emerging situation needs can be met. One more last point I would like to emphasize is the climate change, which is also bringing new emerging threats. So this also needs to be taken into account, that how these changing climatic conditions, which are bringing extreme weather changes, can actually affect the industry, particularly the oil and gas, I would say for you. So let's try to work out and start working on it so that we can control rather than getting tamed by disaster. Let's tame those disasters which happen within our environment or around us, and try to avoid those actions or errors which we do knowingly or unknowingly. Somebody has said there is a Czechoslovakian proverb: misfortunes enter when window is left open to them. So let's don't leave any windows open these bad events to happen. Okay, so this is what we will be trying to achieve through these discussions and also followed by online training programs in the current situation. So we will try, and at the last I would say कि मंजिलें उन्हीं को मिलती हैं जिनके कदमों में जान होती है, पंखों से कुछ नहीं होता यारों, हौसलों से उड़ान होती है. So we can win and we can avoid those disaster situations which are affecting us adversely and eroding our gains of developments. So let's all development sectors imbibe the principles of disaster risk reduction and resilience, and let's follow those and make ourselves resilient against them. So with these words, I thank IOCL for collaborating with NIDM on this theme to pursue our journey towards disaster risk reduction and resilience. And that is the goal of our DM authorities also: zero casualty and no disasters. Let's make our country disaster free and resilient with all efforts all together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for outlining the program. Jesse, Mr. M.R. Dwivedi for the inauguration of the program.
Thank you, Dipti. First of all, very good morning to one and all attending this webinar. Really such a enlightened and thought-provoking keynote address by Professor Surya Prakash. To my mind, before I start this inaugural speech of this program, formal inaugural speech, really in industry we know very little about the disaster, to very specific to our area of operation. So that is why the reason we wanted to have collaboration with NIDM and to get the overall picture of disaster management in country and how it is helping our society and to be very specific to our industry. So really very nice and thought-provoking keynote address by Professor Surya Prakash. First, I'd like to very warm welcome to all my dear colleagues and eminent speakers from NIDM and oil and gas sector. Basically, disaster is a calamity of sudden happening, and disaster management refers to the efficient management of resources and responsibility that will help in lessening the impact of the disaster. As all of us know, petroleum industry plays a crucial role in meeting the daily needs of the common man, but also contributes significantly towards industrial and economic growth of the nation. Any major failure in the system or disaster could lead to loss of human life and or property and damage to the environment. As India's leading oil and gas corporate, Indian Oil remains steadfast in its commitment to excellence in safety, health, and environment performance. Emergency Response Disaster Management Plan, as we call in industry ERDMP, as per PNGRB guidelines, are in place for all of our installations, basically to handle the emergency that is that can be there due to our area of operation, and certain chapters based on DMP Act and all we have included of late in our disaster ERDMP document regarding earthquake, regarding flood, and some natural calamities to very limited extent. The way it is expected by DM Act, perhaps it might not have been there, but provisions have been captured in ERDMP document as per PNGRB guidelines and DM Act 2005 also. The webinar shall cover topics such as mandate of DM Act 2005. Today's deliberation up to 1 o'clock that covers the DM Act 2005, enhancing disaster capabilities, response and preparedness, asset integrity management and disaster risk reduction, DRR measures in cross-country natural gas pipelines. Before I conclude, I'd like to communicate that we at Indian Oil follow and maintain good standards for safety of the people, the processes, the assets of Indian Oil installations, and we are committed for protection of environment around us. I hope this program will enhance an Indian capability building of the participant to develop holistic multi-hazard management strategies for disaster preparedness, prevention, and mitigation. I'd just like to inform our esteemed faculties or eminent speakers of this particular session that Indian Oil Pipeline Division is one of the division of Indian Oil, which presently operates around 14,700 odd kilometers of cross-country pipeline across length and breadth of the country. And we handle around 95 million metric ton per annum liquid hydrocarbon fuels that starts from crude oil, finished petroleum product, liquid LPG, and around maybe 25 million metric standard cubic meter cube of gas that is being transported through this cross-country pipeline as of last fiscal. And I'm happy to share this information with our eminent speakers that in pipeline division, through this cross-country pipeline transportation, we don't have any major fire or fatality continuously for last so many years, 6 years, so to say, without any accident or fire. Just I'm glad to inform all of you. We maintain this pipeline based on various international standards, and we keep on practicing this our disaster management, whatever possible way we have in our system that we keep on doing. We keep on training our people with our in-house expertise, taking help of other industry members. But this is for the first time we are venturing into institute like NIDM to get an overall holistic picture of this. So I request all of you to learn as much as you can and share your experience, which can be useful to others also. I wish good learning and wish the program to be a grand success. With this, I declare the program open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, of the program. I would now request Dr. Kaur to kindly take over.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Morning and welcome to the technical session of the webinar on disaster management in hydrocarbon sector, jointly organized by National Institute of Disaster Management in collaboration with Indian Oil Corporation Limited. Myself, Dr. Harjeet Kaur, young professional and NIDM, and I will be the moderator of today's session. The technical session, there will have a question answer session at the end of presentation, and your active participation is very important to us. Kindly use Q&A window only to raise question or queries. For our first presentation of the day, we have with us Mr. Anil Kathath, Young Professional, Center for Hill Area Development, GMR Division, NIDM, Ministry of Home Affairs. He is postgraduate in geology with over 8.5 years of experience in the field of landslide hazard management and disaster management. Prior to joining NIDM, he has worked with some of the prestigious organizations such as UNDP, NIUA, and CSIR. He penned 20 research papers on various aspects of landslide hazard mitigation and management. Inter alia contributed in drafting the engineering guidelines on landslide mitigation measures for Indian roads. I pass on the stage to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ajit. Is my PPT visible?
Sir, it's showing, uploading, sir, your PPTs. It takes time, sir.
Yeah, please inform as soon as my PPT are visible.
Okay, sir. Okay.
I think now it's visible.
Yes, sir. Please make it full screen, sir.
I have made it full screen. It's not showing.
No, sir.
Anil sir, can you try once again, like uploading once again? Maybe it will work.
Yeah, I'm trying. Now it is visible.
Yes, sir, it is visible. Not yet, sir.
Now,
Not yet, sir.
it's moving.
No, not yet, sir. You are still in the first page of your presentation. Yes, sir. Now it's full screen.
Thank you. So, we'll be talking about the mandate of Disaster Management Act 2005. But before proceeding to my talk, as per mandate, it is my responsibility to remind you all that our battle against COVID-19 pandemic is not over. We are gradually coming to our old routines, but we need not to forget that there is no vaccine, no drug to counter COVID-19. So there should be no place for carelessness. I, on behalf of National Institute of Disaster Management, request you all to follow all the precautionary measures for COVID-19. Wear mask properly, sanitizer whenever you are outdoor, avoid touching frequently your eyes, nose, mouth, and maintain physical distancing, and also keep your surrounding clean and be a warrior to fight against the current crisis and endeavor to make the nation resilient to it. Coming to my topic, as you know, India is one of the highly disaster-prone countries in the world. On an average, about 2% of India's GDP is lost to adverse impacts of disasters. And being a developing nation, disaster also hamper our socio-economic growth and our progress of the country. This figure provides overview of last 20 years from 2000 to 2019. And with 321 reported disaster in India, India stands third after China and America for the period of 2000 to 2019. This disaster also cost India large number of precious lives and huge monetary losses. India has always been a hot spot for disasters. And when you talk about the disaster management setup of the country, then up to the late 20th century, it was mostly devoted to the issues related to relief management. It was a 21st century when new intervention in the field of disaster management were taken, which shift the tone of the subject to holistic one, as was mentioned by Professor Surya Prakash in his keynote address. In 1999, a high-powered committee was constituted to provide a new conceptual framework to reduce the impact of the disaster. The recommendation of this committee in its report that was out in 2001 laid the foundation of Disaster Management Act. Disaster Management Act, the Act was enacted in December 2005. To be precise, it was enacted on 20 December 2005, and enforcement of this Act took place on 28 July 2006. The Act was enacted under the entry 23rd of the concurrent list in the Constitution of India. And the objective of enacting the law was for effective management of disasters in the country. The DM Act virtually transformed the entire approach towards disaster management in the country, including creation of institutional framework from central to the local level through unified response mechanism and bestowing extensive on central government and the national level disaster management agencies. The is divided into 11 chapters and 79 sections. Further, these sections are divided into many subsections. We will be discussing the chapters one by one. Like chapter 1 provides information regarding the title, extent to which the law will be implemented, and various definitions. The title was given Disaster Management Act 2005, and that will be implemented over whole of the India. And there are many definitions which are included in the chapter 1, like disaster management, capacity building, affected area, mitigation. These all definitions are given in chapter 1. The term disaster was defined in Act as a mishap, a calamity, a grave occurrence in any area arising from natural or man-made causes or by accident or by negligence, which results in sustainable loss of life or human suffering or damage to destruction of property or degradation of environment, and it's such of a nature and magnitude as to beyond the capacity of community of the affected area. This is the definition which is given in Disaster Management Act 2005 for disaster. And for disaster management is defined as a means of continuous and integrated process of planning, organizing, coordinating, implementing measures which are necessary for prevention of disaster or threat of any disaster. Likewise, many definitions are in chapter 1. Second, the section 3rd of chapter 2 mandated the establishment of National Disaster Management Authority with a vision to build a safer, disaster-resilient India by a holistic, proactive, technology-driven, and sustainable development strategies that involve all stakeholders and foster a culture of prevention, preparedness, and mitigation. Of India is the chairperson of the National Authority, and total of the members that can be in the National Disaster Management Authority is 9. We can't have then 9 members in NDMA. Under Section 4, the National Authority shall meet as and when necessary. Section 5 confers power to hire officers, staffs for carrying out functions of the National Disaster Management Authority. Section 6 deals with responsibility given to the NDMA that includes laying down of policies, guidelines on disaster management, to approve plans that are prepared by various ministries, departments of the government of India, national or at the state level or more local district level. That plan should be in accordance with to the nation plan that was the National Disaster Management Authority. And Section 7 of the Act for Constitution of Advisory Committee, consisting of experts from the field of disaster management and having practical experience of disaster management at national level, state level, and local level to make recommendations on different aspects of disaster management. And to assist the National Disaster Management Authority, a National Executive Committee was constituted under Section 8, which with secretaries of central ministries department as member of the committee. That is headed secretary of that ministry which is in charge of disaster management. Like as current situation, Ministry of Home Affairs is the nodal ministry for disaster management. Hence, its secretary is the chairperson of National Executive Committee. Further, Section 9 provides for constitution of committee as and when National Executive Committee consider it necessary. Section 10 highlighted powers and functions of National Executive Committee and confers responsibilities for implementing the policies, plans of the national authority and ensure the compliance of the direction issued by central government for the purpose of disaster management in the country. This power of this section was immensely used during current COVID-19 pandemic. The chairperson, secretary to MHA, using his power under Section 10, directed Ministry of Health and Family Welfare to enhance the preparedness for novel coronavirus. Besides that, pandemic was also declared notified disaster under the Act so that we can provide assistance under State Disaster Response Fund. NEC also issued various guidelines to the ministries, departments of Government of India at state level, union territory governments, and with strict implementation of those guidelines. Further, Section 11 provides a disaster management for the whole of the country that include measures to be taken for the prevention, mitigation, preparedness, capacity building, and so on. Following this Section 11, NIDM devised the National Disaster Management Plan in 2016, and that was further revised in 2019. Provision for the minimum standard of the relief to be provided to person affected by disaster is given. The provision, there is also provision given for the minimum standard for relief that should be provided to the person that is affected by disaster. Whereas in Section 13 of the Act, recommendation of relief in repayment of loans and for grants of fresh loans to the person affected by disaster were provided. Chapter third deals with State Disaster Management Authority, establishment of State Disaster Management Authority, and as per the mandate, every state has established its State Disaster Management Authority. And whatever the setup Chapter 2 of the Disaster Management Act established at the national level, its replica was created at state level through the Chapter 3. At state level, Chief Minister is the chairperson of State Disaster Management Authority, and here also the number of member of SDMA can't exceed above 9, as was the NDMA. Under Section 15, meeting of State Disaster Management Authority can be called whenever necessary. Section 16 deals with appointment of officers and employees to carry out the function of SDMA, and when required, and advisory committee was also constituted at state level under the Section 17 for direction in any crisis situation. Whatever the power and functions NDMA is having at national level, SDMAs are having at state level under Section 18, laying down policies, plans for disaster management, success with guidelines for minimum standard for relief at state level. Section 20 states for constitution of State Executive Committee as was established in national at level. National Executive Committee at state level. State Executive Committee was constituted under the Section 20, whereas Section 21 called for committees by State Executive Committee. Further, Section 24 confers power and function of State Executive Committee to assist SDMAs in protecting the community affected by disaster and providing relief to such community. Section 23rd calls to provide state disaster management plan that will be in accordance with national disaster management plan developed by NIDM at national level. Chapter 4 is for constitution of district disaster management authority at district level. Collector or district magistrate is the chairperson of DDMA, and here the number of members in DDMA can't be exceed more than 7. The members are appointed by respective state governments. And, Section 26 confers power to chairperson of district authority to take necessary action as required to combat any emergency situation. Like at national level and at state level, Section 27, 20, and 29 provide powers to call meeting, to constitute advisory committee and other committees, and appoint officers and other employees at district level. Further, Section 30 confers power to take all measures for the purpose of disaster management in the district, but in accordance with the guidelines that are laid down by national authority and as well as state authority. DMAs are also responsible to develop their district disaster management plan, and that in accordance with national and state disaster management plan under Section 31. Section 32 says that every office of the district level, whether of the government of India or state government or local authorities under supervision of DDMA, shall prepare their disaster management plan. Further, Section 33 confers power to DDMA to ask the departments or any officer to take necessary actions that are required for the prevention, preparedness, and mitigation of disaster at district level. Under Section 34 of the DM Act, collector or district magistrate is eligible to take any measures that are required in assisting, in protecting, in providing relief to the community in response to any threat, any threatening disaster situation. Measures can also be used to use resources available with any department, or controlling vehicular movement or movement of people, providing shelter and food. Chapter 5th of the Disaster Management Act highlighted the measures that should be taken by the government disaster management in the country. Section 35 bestows many powers, responsibilities to central government to take measures that are necessary for the purpose of disaster management in the country. It includes coordination of ministries or departments at all level, integration of measures for DRR in the development plans and projects, ensure that the ministries or departments of Government of India take necessary measures for preparedness to promptly and effectively respond to any threatening disaster situation. 36 also insists that every ministry or every department of Government of India should take measures necessary for prevention of disasters, mitigations, preparedness, and also capacity building in accordance with the guidelines that are laid by a national authority at national level, and to mainstream disaster risk reduction in their development projects. For prevention and mitigation of disasters, Section 37 of DM Act mandated every ministry or department of the Government of India develop their disaster management plan in accordance with national plan. In their plan, every ministry or department should highlight its own roles and responsibilities in relation to preparedness and in relation to capacity building, as well as in relation to effectively responding to any threatening disaster situation. Section 38, 39, and 40 confers power and responsibilities to SDMAs to take all the necessary action at state level for the purpose of disaster management. State ministers and departments are also mandated to develop their respective disaster management plan in accordance with national disaster management plan that was by NDM at national level. Further, Chapter 6 highlighted the responsibilities of local authorities such as panchayats, urban local bodies, under the supervision of DDMA. Their main function include to ensure that its officers and employees are trained for disaster management, as well as that all construction projects under their authority conform to the standards and specification guidelines or bylaws that are laid down for the prevention of disaster and mitigation by NDMA, by SDMA, and by DDMA. So these are all the responsibilities of local authorities. They are also responsible for carrying out relief, rehabilitation, and reconstruction activities in the disaster affected areas. Now, Chapter 7, a Nation Center for Disaster Management, NDMC, was established in 1993. That was upgraded in National Institute of Disaster Management under the direction of Section 42 of the DM Act 2005. And Union Home Minister is the president of the institute, and Union Home Secretary is the vice chairman of the governing body of the National Institute of Disaster Management. Executive Director of NIDM runs the day-to-day administration of the institute, and the function and responsibilities enlisted by the Act includes developing training modules, undertaking research, documentation in disaster management, and organizing training programs, formulating, implementing a comprehensive human resource development plan covering all aspects of disaster management, and also providing assistance in developing the national plan, policies, and guidelines. Further, Chapter Section 44 related to constitute National Disaster Response Force, and accordingly in 2006 NDRF was constituted with 8 battalions, but at present NDRF has a strength of 12 battalions, 3 each from BSF, CRPF, and 2 each from CISF, ITBP, and SSB. Each battalion consists of 1,000 nearly 1149 personnel. In the beginning, the personnel of NDRF were deployed for routine law and order duties, but in 2007, the need to make the NDRF a dedicated force was highlighted and accepted. This led to the notification of NDRF rules in 2008 and making NDRF a dedicated force for disaster response related duties and under the unified command of Deputy General NDRF. All the 12 battalions have been equipped and trained to natural as well as man-made disasters, and battalions are also trained and equipped to respond during chemical, radiological, as well as nuclear emergencies. Each battalion has a self-contained specialist of search and rescue teams that contain 45 personnel, each including engineers, technicians, electricians, as well as dog squads and medical paramedicals, and to cut down the response time for their deployment at disaster site. NDR battalions are located at 12 different locations in the country. Section 46, 47, and 48 of Chapter 9 mandated to create Disaster Response Fund, State Disaster Response Fund, and National Disaster Mitigation Fund. The 15th Finance Commission recommended creating the mitigation funds at both national as well as state level in the form of National Disaster Mitigation Fund and State Disaster Mitigation Fund in accordance with the Disaster Management Act beyond the existing Disaster Response Fund. This mitigation fund, the aim of creating this mitigation fund was used for those local levels and community-based intervention which reduce the risk and promote environment-friendly settlements and as well as livelihood practices. The mitigation and response funds were clubbed and termed as National Disaster Risk Mitigation Fund, NDRMF, and State Disaster Risk Mitigation Fund, SDRMF. The central government contribution is 75% of SDRF allocation for general category states, and for special category states like Northeast states, Sikkim, Uttarakhand, Himachal, Jammu, and Kashmir, the contribution of central government to SDRF is 90%. There is also a provision that every ministry or their departments can use flexi fund of 25% of their total budget allocation on risk reduction in their home sector. Chapter 10 provides provision for punishment for various activities, such as punishment for creating any obstruction in activities related to managing any crisis situation, punishment for false claim, for false warning, and as a punishment, one can be jailed or fined or both. Last chapter of the DM Act deals with certain activities like preventing discrimination on basis of gender, caste during any rehabilitation program or a relief camp. It also highlighted the power of center to tackle any emergency situation, and the act also given power to central government that in any case the guidelines, laws, whatever the government at center will release, it will automatically override the existing laws, rules that are implemented by state, like it was in the case of current situation in earlier stage. Many state government have released their own emergencies guidelines and laws, but when nation that central government devised their guidelines for COVID-19 situation, the laws and rules that were implemented by state were automatically overridden by the guidelines from the central government. Thank you. That was all about the mandate that the Disaster Management Act 2005 had given. Now, over to you, Dr. Ajit. Dr. Hajit, over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. Enlightened about DM Act 2005 broadly, and the Disaster Management Act 2005 has 11 chapters with 79 sections, and the act extends to the whole of India. It provides for the effective management of disasters and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. The main focus of this act is to provide the people who are affected with disaster their life back and helping them. Back to you, sir. We will take one question due to time constraint. Are you there, sir?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, sir. So the question is, what are the options for safeguarding the oil and gas infrastructure, and what should be the framework of disaster management plan for the sector?
When you will go through all the major global frameworks guidelines, they are repeatedly asked to mainstream the DRR strategy in every development activities. Our Honorable Prime Minister, in his 10-point agenda, also advocated incorporating DRR measures in each and every development activities that are carried by any department or any agencies. All development sectors must imbibe the principles of disaster risk management. It is what was said by our Honorable Prime Minister in his agenda. Further, he said that the stress should be given on utilizing modern technology to enhance the efficiency of disaster management efforts. And regarding the framework of disaster management plan, NDMA has devised the template that can be used to develop, that can be used by any organization to develop their own disaster management plan. It is available on their website. People can access the template of disaster management plan from the website of NDMA, as well as we will be also discussing the disaster management template in our incoming 3 days training program that is scheduled from 2 December to 4 December.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I would be our former director ONGC. Mr. Mahar is presently Board of Governor, acting chairman of Rohtak. He retired in 2018. And Gas Mahar Company, ONGC New Delhi, and OMPL Mangalore. He is also advisor to Green Tech Foundation, New Delhi, and is an ex-chair of Delhi. is the president of SESPRO, the Society of Environment, Safety and Sustainability Professionals, New Delhi. He has 36 years of experience.
Dr. Harjeet, your voice is breaking.
Okay, sir. I have to off my video, sir. Hello. Now it's clear, sir?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah, it's clear now.
Okay, sir. Mr. Mahavar has 36 years of vast experience in public sector undertaking, and with his dynamic, bold decision-making and visionary approach, he has selected as a director of ONGC by PESB. Now I pass on stage to you, sir.
Thank you, Arjit. Thank you very much. I think I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So, first of all, I'd like to thank NIDM for giving me this opportunity. And I thank, I think, Oil India and compliment them for in pipeline, they have no incident from last 6 years. And although they are having about 15,000 kilometers of pipeline. So, thank you very much. I think Oil India is doing a good job. Great job. I think that shows that the commitment. So I'll just go to my presentation, and here I'll be talking about enhancing disaster capability response and preparedness in pipeline. So you might have been seeing that a lot of pipeline work is going on and a lot of disasters have been shown in my slide. So I'll be discussing some of the points and some of the things which I have faced in the field related to pipeline, and I'll be a little bit touch on the Jaipur fire also because I was involved in that. So that will be my presentation outline, and I will just touch that for effective response, what are the things needed so that you continue the good work which you are doing from last 6 years in the pipeline. Not only the pipeline, but there's a lot of process is taking place and storage facilities are there in Oil India, Indian Oil. So that part is to be seen. So I think my presentation should be visible to everyone now. Can anybody give a comment that Harjeet, can you tell?
Yes, sir, your PPTs are visible.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Anil. Thank you very much. You have given a good presentation. So what is a disaster response? Response is very, very important. Managing a consequence, providing immediate relief to taking steps towards bringing the normalcy. That is a response. So how we should be prepared to handle these the response.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, there is one small window that is open on your right side, sir. If you can drag it downside, sir, it is blocking the slides.
Okay. I think it's
yes,
okay
sir.
now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's better.
Okay.
Sir. Thank you, sir.
So for the effective disaster response, I think what are the things needed? The action taken the initial minutes for an emergency. That is very, very important. If you see in any of the cases, like if it is a tank fire or it is a pipeline fire, initial action is very, very important. If you can cool the tanks or you can douse the fire immediately, I think that is the first thing. So for that, your response time should be as minimum as possible, and that comes with the if you are conducting good drills. So that is one thing which is very, very important. And initial action will be taken by the person present at the site. So they should be trained in such a way that they should take a decision that, yeah, in this condition, what I should do. For a major thing, okay, the shape will be different, but in initial stage, if you can act and fast, definitely it is going to help. The prompt warning to employees to evacuate and shelter can save lives. So the life is very, very important. See, if a person gone, means you can't bring him or her back. So that is important. So in any of the disaster, we must see that how we can save the people who might be affected or may get affected. So that is a very, very important thing which should be there in your disaster response, because saving people is our foremost responsibility. Number 3 thing which is very important, providing full and accurate information to emergency service, because this information is very, very important. If you are not giving a full and accurate information, the team who is going to come there to manage the disaster will not know whom to send and where to send and what are the equipments to be sent. So this is a very, very important thing which should be provided. I'm just quoting one example here. We were cleaning one of the line. It's about 53 kilometers gas pipeline. A lot of particles were coming from that, and it was might have damaged the gas turbine of the Palatana plant. Basically 726 megawatt power plant was there. So we were planning to go for a pigging of that pipeline, and to my big surprise, we put a pig inside, a black color pig, but we found a red color pig has come out. So when we started inquiring about that, they said, yes, sir, in the previous time when this pig did not come out, so we have left the pig inside. So if this kind of informations are being hidden, I think that is not right, not in the true spirit. Whatever has happened should be recorded to handle the emergency. So that is my request to all of you. Please be true to your service, and don't hide the things. Bata dijiye usko, tell that yes, this has happened. Nobody is going to do anything to you, because yes, if you know the right thing, you can do the right action. And the knowledge of process area and pipeline network of an employee is also very, very important. If you know that yes, these kind of equipments, so then you can take the right action. Again, here I have seen in few cases, they told us when we went to the well that to control the fire and all, it has this equipments. But actually when they started working, keeping in mind that whatever information has been given, we started the plan, we started executing the plan, the results are different. And when we analyze the results, we found out that, oh, the things are different. It's not the thing which was being told. So I think the person who is knowing about that area, I think should be involved in the beginning stage. So at least you know that yes, what is to be done. And the objective of the response plans, basically there are 4 points which I have written. Protection of people is very, very important. First thing, you have to see that how can save our people or the people working around that or people living around that area. So that is the first thing which we should keep in mind. Then the protection. Now you see the environment, because we are handling all POLs or hazardous, inflammable, not hazardous, flammable material, whether it's ONGC or HPCL or Indian Oil or Oil India. So environment can get damaged. Recently, I think Suryaprakash was talking about Bhagjan 5, because I was there for about 3 months. So we have seen how much damage it has done. About 500 meters around the well, everything was burned. So we have to see that how we can be prepared to save the environment. Protection of the company property, that's another thing, because all these equipments or the properties which is there is definitely costly. So we try to see that how we can save as much as possible the properties which are there in the facility or the pipeline. Protection of the resources, because now you see the resources, if you see oil and gas, we are almost importing 86% of our requirement from outside. We are only producing 14 or 15% of the oil which is needed, and only about 50% of the gas which we need. So definitely for us, and we should see that how best we can protect these resources. So that should be a part of the contingency planning. Response competencies required for disaster. What are the competencies required now? So for the primary response, I'm just saying that people should be trained for primary response. Primary response, where I'm talking about the persons at the site, if he is ignoring the warning signs. Suppose in the pipeline you see that there's a pressure is being maintained at a different point, and you see that some pressure drops are there, and you ignore that, definitely it is not the right thing which we are doing. Or you say, okay, I'll see it later on. No, there's no later on. It is immediate. In oil and gas sector, we must act immediately. We should not, there is no place for the complacency in this sector. So my friends who are listening to me, I'm seeing that about 125 people are there who are listening to me. So this is very, very important. The first person available at the site should know what is to be done in which cases. So that is very, very important. So any warning signs coming should be taken into cognizance and the right action to be taken. Another thing, reporting of the incident is very, very important. Whom to report and who has to report. This should be very clearly written, documented and kept in a chart form that yes, who will report whom. Otherwise, in the crisis, we have seen that everybody is calling to the installation where this has happened, or everybody is calling the person who, the FPR person responsible in the pipeline. So he is not supposed to hear because he has to take a lot of, he or she has to take a lot of actions. So the channels who will inform whom. So reporting of the incident is very, very important thing and should be known to person involved in that incident. The secondary response is the corrective actions which you are going to take. For again, the right information is very, very important here again. So if you give the right informations, right people will come, right equipment will come in time, and the disaster can be mitigated as fast as possible. Now the primary response. Suppose if the disaster is in such a nature that people are to be relocated or sent, so definitely that arrangement should be there. Suppose like we were doing in Baghjan, we had one helicopter ready in their nearby base. It was kept ready, and one of the helipad was made there in one of the school. In case any emergency, we can fly the person to a safer place or can be given treatment. So that kind of thing should be there when you are handling any of the disaster. You should know that whom to contact and what are the different arrangements are to be made. And another thing which is there is if the disaster is going to affect the community nearby. So definitely we should see that how we can move them to the safer place and abandon that place. So like in case of Baghjan, again I'm coming back to Baghjan every time because it is a recent incident. So about 1.5 kilometer area people were evacuated, and at the site nobody was there. So immediately people were evacuated from the place and people could be saved. Search, rescue and recovery. So how you will do search, rescue and recovery? You know, some of the in one of the installation, how many people have come in. So that is very, very important, because if you don't know how many people are there, then how you will see that whom to recover. So that is a question which we should ask ourselves. If incident has happened, but how many people were there inside? Whether they have all come out, and if they are not, then how to rescue them? If I talk about Jaipur fire, my team was there. I was a crisis management head based at Ahmedabad. When we went to Jaipur with our fire team and our crisis management team, people are not ready to go inside because it was a big fire. But we were trained to go inside that fire with the water cover. We went inside, we pulled out 2 bodies. But we were not knowing that how many people were there at the time of incident. So that is a thing which is very, very important if you want to save people. Otherwise, you will not know. So anytime people going in, it should be properly documented. That is to be seen. Protection of pipeline and facility, another important things. So here, I'll just say that the initial action is very, very important. Like, again, I'm coming to Jaipur when the fire was there, tanks were burning. We were being asked what we can do. Can we extinguish this fire? No. If the fire is burning from long, if you try to extinguish the fire, if fume, that vapor will be formed and it can burst anytime and it can damage the tanks. can't do it. But initial stages, we can transfer some of the fluids if we know where it can be taken, because it will not catch fire, we will not exposed to the oxygen. Another thing, the safety thing, for the safety of the nearby places, what we did there was we asked the military to bring their bulldozers and excavate all around the tanks. There were about a lot of tanks were burning. We asked them to make a ditch of 8 feet deep and 6 feet wide. So in case any of the tank bursts, so that fuel which is inside will not spread, go outside the boundary, will stay there in that trench. So that kind of arrangements were made there. But I think people should be trained to go work in such a situation in all the organizations. I don't say that everybody can work in this condition, but there are few people who will volunteer themselves to work in this kind of condition. So I think by now, if I see the safety record which Mr. Dwivedi has told, definitely they will be having a crisis management team available there. First aid and trauma center, that is very, very important. That should be there. It should be known what has happened, where the person is to be taken, and what are the facilities available nearby. So that is another important thing which should be there with the part of the disaster management plan. The incident reporting is very, very important, because we have seen any incident happen. Nowadays, media is so strong, they will try to find out all negative things. They don't give, mostly the people don't give the positive things, because this is my experience, because I have handled about 36 blowouts which were of a critical nature. So the company, within the, how we are going to report within the company incident and to the external agencies. And when we are talking about to external agencies like media, we should be very careful that only one person responsible should talk, who has been briefed about the incident. Not everyone should talk. Now, how to deal with the government authorities? There are sections available, people available who are dealing with those authorities should be designated. In case of emergency, only this so and so person will be talking to the government authorities and with the regulatory authorities and the media. See, this is a very, very important thing which everyone should understand, that everybody is not supposed to talk there, because you don't know what is going on and what kind of decisions are being taken when we are handling these situations. If you don't know, please don't speak. Don't tell anything which can create sensation or which can give a negative publicity to our companies. So please refrain yourself from that. Now, in case of incident, how it is to be reported, that is very, very important. If you see here how you are going to report, that flow chart should be everywhere in all the installations, or the person who is handling the maintaining the pipeline. In case of any emergencies, how the information will flow and who will inform whom. So that is also should be taken. And if I talk about secondary response is when the incidents happen, then only the secondary response will come into the action. So we will make a plan according to the informations available to the team who has come to for rescue or for controlling the incident. Then we will start execution of the plan, how we are going to do, what are the things needed, and if you need, we have to make 2 teams or 3 teams or 4 teams, and how these teams will be coordinated. So here I'll just explain one thing, that we work in a buddy system. At least 2 persons will work inside in this kind of incident. 2 or 3 persons, a team goes. Suppose there are 3 teams working, you have been briefed that this is to be done. Go there, do that. If you find anything which is not as per the discussions happened outside, please don't do anything from your side. Don't add or delete anything which you feel is right there. No. Once it has been discussed, this is to be done, this is to be done only. Otherwise, you don't know what you are doing, what effect it will have. Because once you, in that case, what we do is, in our case, scenario, when I used to handle these kind of situations, a team who is handling and is coming out, we understand that yes, they have some issues. So we, all the 3 or 4 teams working, they should come out, discuss, again go back and do the work. Please don't add or delete any action when you are working in this crisis situation. Please refrain yourself from that. Identification of mobilization is very, very important. From where the resources will be important, they should be kept, they should be identified and know that how much time those resources will be there. The monitoring of the progress. You make a plan every day. The plan has been made, and now you start monitoring that plan. Yes, if the things are happening with that as per the plan. If not, why not? And what are the things needed? So that review should always be there every day. It should not be like that. Yes, like if you again, I'll talk about Bagjan. They were saying that this 11-inch flange, if it in a good condition, we'll cap it or will not. Otherwise, we'll cut all the casings and do some action. But when we went there and we saw that the flange is in a good condition, there were a lot of differences between the team, two, 3 teams. But ultimately, a discussion was held and it was decided that we will cap it on that 11-inch flange. So that was done, and today the well is under control. And the corrective actions. So as soon as you see the things are not happening as per the plan, so what kind of corrective actions are required? That is to be considered when you are doing this crisis management. A typical incident management plan, I have given that how the information will flow, will do what. This is a one general idea, but as per your company's policies, you can make that who will be. I have just given some departments. So these departments, if they are good, or somebody else is having that responsibility, so those names can be put in these boxes which I have shown. So it's just a general idea, general guidelines which I have given. So this can be followed. Now, what are the challenges? Challenges is environment protection. That is very, very important. How to protect the environment, because nowadays, environment, we are giving a lot of emphasis on the environment. So we must see that environment is not polluted, and or as much as possible we try to protect our environment. That should be in our mind when we are dealing with any other disaster. Population nearby, yes, that is also the people who are working there, because once you are working in the place, the people living nearby definitely going to help you. So they should know that in case of any emergencies, what is to be done and where they can be displaced. So, and what are the dangers involved in that. So that is very, very important, because when we go and start telling some negative things, and things can go wrong and you will not be able to work in future in those areas. So the people with the positive mindsets, the positivity should be there, that yes, this is a requirement, and what kind of safety precautions we have taken, or in case of emergency, what preparedness we have, that also should be shared with the nearby population. And if the disaster happened, where they will be located till the disaster is controlled, that also should be there, and to go to them, discuss with them. If the fire is not there, we try to prevent fire, because once the fire is there, the things are more worse, things will get damaged. So the best way of preventing fire is to just put water on it, and that should be the provision should be there for continuous water. So if that can be done, definitely we can protect fire. It is easier to work in that situation when there is no fire. So that attempt should be made. And the control plan, how we are going to control it, if it is fire or if it is no fire. In both the cases, the control plan will be different. And my friends, all the incident will have a different strategy. It's not like that we have controlled one fire, another fire can be controlled in the similar way. No, no two incidents are similar, they are different. So we all should see that specific to that incident, how we can make a control plan. So aap soche ki we can make a ready-made plan and we will be implementing. No, it will not be like that. Seeing the condition, you have to make the plan. And the coordination with the regulatory agencies, that is very, very important because we have different agencies involved, government agencies are there. So we definitely see that how we are coordinating with that. So this is another challenge because agencies will try to find, because they'll see that these are the written guidelines, whether this has been followed. But from our side, we will say, yeah, it is followed. So these kind of conflicts can come, but how we can resolve and how we can coordinate with them amicably, that is to be seen, and that departments are there in all the companies who handles that. Now, regulatory agencies are very, very important for us because they make, Anil was discussing about the disaster management plan 2005, what are the different provisions that are there. So as per those provisions, whether these are actually planned or not, actually at the site or actually at the district level or at the state level, whether it is functioning or not, that is to be seen. In industry also, we have to see that the regulatory authorities, the state agencies which have given some guidelines, central government agencies, they have a guideline. Even the environment protection department will have some guidelines, and nearby villages, they also have some regulations, and so the coordinating with them is a very, very important task, and the responsible person should be there to handle with them. So this is why the good disaster management plan is required, because we don't want these things to happen. If you have a good disaster management plan and you're taking action according to the plan, definitely I can say that you can avoid this incident, or if the incident has happened, you can control that with a minimum period of time, and you can save a lot of things. Now, what are the major tools to strengthening response competencies? So these are the tools which have regular training, as NIDM is doing nowadays. They have started online training. I compliment them for this because after the Bhagjan, because I was involved in that, so I can know that what kind of seriousness has come at the government level, at the state level also, and even the ministers and chief ministers all were visited that site. So regular training is very, very important. See, in the training, what happens, people say, I have done this training 5 years back. That is not going to help. See, if you have done a training, you will not learn 100% in the training. In the training, some people can learn 10%, 20%, 30%. Nobody can learn 100% in the trainings. So these trainings and retrainings are very, very important. So to remind you that these are your duties, these are the things which you have to do. So definitely the regular training is very, very important for everyone who is involved in this kind of activities. Practical exposure and drills. That is, if you have some incident happen, I think try to give exposure to some of the team. In Bhagjan, we have selected 6 oil Indians, and we asked them to come near the well, do this job and do the job. So the fear which was there, that in the so much pressure is there and big fire is there, whether we'll be able to work or not. Once you go there and see practically yourself, you will feel that yes, if some other person can work, why I cannot work? I can work very easily. And drills, why I'm taking the importance of the drill. Drill is very, very important, friends, because once you do the drill, you know that what are the shortcomings you have and how these shortcomings can be improved. So the next time your response time increases, or your response time is decreasing, or your response is faster. So that's why I'm saying the drills are when you do drills, don't keep in mind that it is a drill. You see that this incident has happened and we have to work like it is a real incident. So then only you will see that drills are properly done. Another thing is communication skill. This is very, very, very important things. It is everywhere, it is important. If you want to go in, proceed in your life or in your career, I normally used to say 3 things. you have to improve your communication and communications. आपको कुछ, you might be reminded with some dialogue of a company, but communication means you should not hesitate to talk to your senior, number one, and not afraid to talk to your seniors. We should not hesitate to talk to your juniors. Yes, why I should talk to him? No, that kind of thing should not be there. And there should not be any hitch in talking to your peers. If you make these three communication level clear, I guarantee you that you will succeed in your life and you will be able to tackle any of the emergencies very effectively. Another thing is teamwork, because anything which is happening in this kind of disaster, it is a team who is working. If one person can say that I can do this, no, it is not possible. Single person cannot do anything. It is a team who has to work. So one has to be a very good team player. So you have to learn that how to work in the team effectively and contribute effectively. Another thing, if you are working in this kind of hazardous situations, definitely your physical fitness matters. We definitely see that, yes, we are physically fit, and so that you can handle these disasters effectively. Related to pipeline, actually, there is one activities which is very, very important is a pigging of the pipeline. The pipelines which are being laid has a certain norm that these are to be pigged, or we can go for intelligent pigging. But I have seen in some of the cases, which is my experience, we go for intelligent piggings, but we don't compare the results from the previous one, because of this, what has happened in some places, the thickness has reduced, and we did IP, we took the readings, the person has been transferred, some other person has come, did not find the record. So these kind of things should not, the confusion should not be there. Everything should be properly recorded, because nowadays we have computers which can store whatever you want to store in that. So this is one thing which is very, very important in pipeline. The pipeline should be piggable and should be pigged properly, and people should be trained how to pig and which kind of pig is to be lowered in the pipeline, so that this can be clean and the health of the pipeline is maintained. So this is the only thing which I just wanted to say, for friends. And if you have any questions, I'm open to that. And just I wanted to.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, underline the typical incidental management plan for hydrocarbon sector and challenges faced by the sector. Sir, one of our participants, Mr. Poddar, has raised his interest to know more about the chemical laboratory safety management practices.
See, regarding the chemical, I have a different presentations, because chemical has a different altogether, because how to handle the chemical, and all the chemicals have a different properties. So definitely the chemical, in the case of chemical handling and chemical disasters, things are little different. For that also I have discussed in one of the conference in Dubai. So, friend, all the kind of disasters, like if it is a gas fire, if it is oil fire, it is a tank fire, or it is a chemical spread in offshore or onshore. The techniques of these things will be different, but one should be prepared for, if you are handling the chemicals, so you should be prepared to handle in case that chemical spills or the explosion takes place in the chemical. So that kind of preparedness should be there, and that will be a little different than oil and gas.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Now moving ahead to our third presentation, we have with us Shri Hirak Datta, ex-IOC, former Executive Director, OISD, and former Advisor and Head Safety, Naira Energy. Mr. Datta has more than 37 years of experience in process designing and engineering, operation, troubleshooting, safety management, project management, and human resource management at various refineries and at the Corporate Office of Indian Oil Corporation Limited. He has authored many papers on technical and safety management that have been published in national and international journals, and he has presented at conferences around the world. Mr. Datta earned a degree in chemical engineering from Jadavpur University and a condensed MBA at the Indian Institute of Management in Ahmedabad. Recently, in August 2020, he has played a key role in capping a blowout well in Bagjan field of Oil India in Assam, and he was deputed by the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Government of India, New Delhi. Now I pass on stage to you, sir.
Thank you, and first of all, thanks to NIDM, Professor Surya Prakash and Anilji for inviting me once again to share my views. Last fortnight back, I spoke on the same subject with the HPCL officers. Of course, topic was different, but today with my old industry, IOC, this disaster management hydrocarbon sector is focusing on IOC. So it's a great pleasure to be here to speak on this subject. What I am doing is I will be talking on disaster management in hydrocarbon sector. Maharji has spoken at length on various issues in emergency response management. He has also cited example of Bagjan. He has also cited example of Indian Oil Jaipur and many others. He said that he had seen 36 blowouts. So he talked in detail about what is required to be done, what are the organization structure which is required to be done, our primary responsibility in protecting people, environment. I will be focusing on, as Mr. Anilji has asked me, to focus on pipeline, mainstreaming pipeline. That's what he wanted me to speak. So next 20 minutes, I will be talking about mainstreaming disaster risk reduction for pipeline safety. Hydrocarbon sector is inherently dangerous, and people who have not seen the hydrocarbon fire, it's a huge thing for them. They will simply run away from that place. So it's very, very dangerous because we handle products which are highly volatile, and so therefore hydrocarbon fire is dangerous. And Mahavarji has mentioned that we need to kill the fire at the nascent state. If we delay, there will be catastrophic incident, and then subsequently the disaster management, etc., will come into things. My presentation structure for the next 20 minutes will be: I will talk about prelude to disaster reduction. Then I will share a case study that I often do in my talk, is sharing a case study so that people can focus on what went wrong and what is to be learned from those case studies, particularly what went wrong. This will be a pipeline case study. Lessons learned. I will talk about a little bit about organization culture, because whatever you do, ultimately organization and culture and leadership issues are very important. In the last program, Professor Surya Prakash talked about the organization culture and leadership commitment in mitigating risks, in reducing the unsafe situations, unsafe tracks, and thereby avoiding the disaster. So I will a little bit talk about organizational culture. I will talk about high reliability organizations. What are the features of high reliability organizations? And in high reliable organization, in any high reliable organizations, you will find that the disasters are at minimal. And finally, the last slide I could not put because this morning I had a lot of problem with my computer. It was hanging. The last slide will be on way forward, which I will share. Coming back to the disaster risk reduction, which is the topic for me, mainstreaming DRR for pipeline. It's a systematic approach. And what is the systematic approach? Approach of identifying, assessing, and reducing risks. Any operation will have some amount of risks, operational risks or various other risks. When you talk about oil and gas. Hello.
Sir, yes, sir. There is a small window, sir, that is open, like in front of you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you just minimize it, sir?
I think that is.
You can drag it down also, sir. Just if you can. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is much better, sir.
Just 1 second, I will little bit. Now it's okay, no?
Yes, sir. Now it is perfect, sir.
So When we talk about disaster risk reduction, it's a systematic approach to identify, assess, and reduce the risks. That's what we are going to do. And it aims to reduce, as Mahavarji has said, reduce socioeconomic vulnerabilities and other hazards that trigger them. That's what is disaster risk reduction. Oil and gas industry is absolutely highly hazardous and handles highly flammable petroleum products and operates at high temperature and pressure. So therefore, unsafe situation, unsafe acts, catastrophic incidents. So until and unless the fire is extinguished at the nascent stage itself, it will be very, very dangerous to control them. And other challenge for the oil and gas industry and for the pipeliners, it's very, very true. Many of the oil and gas industry assets are old and aging and require special attention to avoid major catastrophic incidents. In India or throughout the world, if you take the pipelines, are operating for many, many years. So if it is operating for many, many years, they are old aging assets, and every old aging asset requires special attention towards the maintenance. So that is required to be done. In India, we have about 45,000 kilometers of pipeline, and more than 30% of the pipeline in India has already reached the design life of 25 years. So therefore, one has to be very, very careful. I'm not saying that pipeline which are more than 25 years old will not operate reliably and smoothly without any reliably and smoothly. The Guwahati-Siliguri pipeline of Indian Oil, which is operating for more than 60 years now, is a glaring example as to how, if you can take care of reliability issues in a pipeline, if you monitor them, if you health monitor them properly, there will be no incident. If you replace the pipelines from time to time, if you do the pigging properly, there will not be any risk in that pipeline, and it is running for more than 60 years. In USA also, pipelines which are more than 70, 80 years old are even running today. But the challenge is enormous, and we have to live up to the challenge to avoid any sort of catastrophic incident or major incident thereof. Risk reduction basic industry approach must be, and as I see, the least preferred options are PPE and administrative control. Given administrative control, do this, do that. But the most preferred options are engineering controls. That's very, very important. Isolate the risk or substitute the risk or eliminate the risk. That's the fundamentals of risk reduction. So we must have good engineering controls. I will talk about it as I move forward. We can isolate the risk or substitute the risk. There will be risk in any operation. There are risks in the life. So there will be risk, and as I have mentioned, oil and gas is highly hazardous. So there will be risk. So we need to substitute the risk or eliminate the risk. And in this context, three things are very, very important. As I move, I will talk about it. And this is the model which I want to share. This I shared last time also, and I will share this time, here also with my pipeline friends of IOC. Four things are very, very important. This is the one at the core is the design. Design of anything is of any installation is very important, and for design of pipeline is also very important. So look at the design, look at the P&I diagram, look at the process flow diagram, and ensure that all the layers of protection, all the safety instrumentation and safety interlocks have been provided in the design. The material which you are using for the pipeline or for building a refinery, do they follow the standards? Do they follow the ASME standards or API standards? So the equipment which you are procuring, do they meet the highest standards? If they do not meet the highest standards, I'm afraid the equipment will fail. Similarly, the design, look at the P&I, look at the layers of protection which is required to be built into the design so as to avoid any sort of catastrophic incident in our installations. So design is very, very important. The second important aspect is the operation. See, safety or disaster risk management, these are all part of operation and maintenance. If we know how to operate, if we know the nitty-gritties of operation, then half the battle is won. So if the design is robust, if you know how to operate a plant, if you know the nitty-gritties of operation, that's very, very vital. So operation integrity is number two thing. Third important thing is the maintenance integrity. That's paramount. The oil industry or any industry, they have money, they can buy in equipment, they can use the money for purchasing capital for equipment. But do we maintain them? That's the main issue. If the company depends upon breakdown maintenance, I'm afraid there will be unsafe situations, and therefore there will be major catastrophic incidents, and due to that there will be disasters. So we have to move away from the breakdown maintenance to preventive and predictive maintenance. And today companies are going for reliability-centric maintenance and risk-based inspections. So M&I is very, very important. And for pipeline, we have a very, very strong, IOC pipeline has a very, very strong M&I team. And that M&I team will help in improving the reliability and safety and smooth operation of the pipeline which IOC has. So design must be robust. We must know how to operate. We must know the nitty-gritties of our operation. We must be able to maintain our assets, which we have done. And the fourth important thing is human reliability. Focus is on human resources. Do we train and educate them? Mr. Mahavar has spoken at length on training and education. Do we properly train or educate them? Or a company sends the spareables for training? If the philosophy of the company is to send the spareables for training, I'm afraid that company will not be called a progressive organization. Any progressive organization must focus on development of human resources, because after all, people moves the process and people moves the technology. And therefore, focusing on motivating the human resources is very, very important. Regular training, regular educating the human resources is very, very important. And when I'm talking about training and development of human resources, I'm not only talking about our own employees, the employees of IOC, HPC, BPC, ONGC, Oil, GAIL. I'm also talking about the training of the contract laborers. It is the responsibility of the principal employer to ensure that the contract laborers who are coming to work, and mind it, today number of contract workers in the industry is increasing. So therefore, we need to continuously train and educate them. If we don't train and educate them, there will be unsafe situations, and as a result, there will be many catastrophic incidents in the place. So operation, maintenance, design integrity, and human reliability put together will ensure that disaster risk reduction comes down. Together with, I said, the design integrity, should we substitute the risk? Should we eliminate the risk? Should we have an inherent safe design? We need to have inherent safe design. Reduce the human intervention by automation. Now, Mahavarji talked about Jaipur. Now, after Jaipur incident, we had about 118 recommendations. I was the person who has implemented all the 118 recommendations across the oil sector. Now, these recommendations, if you look, basically were divided into two areas: software, hardware, and the hardware part. Many hardware changes, that is towards automation, has come up in the oil and gas industry, in the pipeline sector, in the marketing terminal, as well as in the refinery to some extent. But because refineries are also already equipped up, but many such hardware changes has come in the marketing terminals and in the pipeline. As a result, through the automation, human intervention has come down, and we are depending upon the automation. But then, important thing is, after all, people moves the process, people moves the technology. So therefore, human reliability, or focusing on human resources, motivating the human resources is paramount, is very, very important. Okay, now I will go to the next slide. Therefore, how do we reduce risks? That's the core issue. And I always say, please stick to the fundamentals. If we stick to the fundamentals, these are design, fabricate, and install all facilities and equipment, your pipeline, or a refinery, or a petrochemical plant, or a fertilizer plant. Design, fabricate, and install all facilities in accordance with the applicable industry codes and recognize best practices. That's paramount. That's very, very important. Operate facilities and equipment within the safe design envelope or design tolerances. Every equipment, every pipeline, every refinery, every reactor, every vessel, every heat exchanger, every furnace have a safe operating envelope. Operate within this pressure and temperature. Don't go beyond that. If you are go beyond that, we are inviting problem. And then what happens is, many times we continue operation when we know that safety interlocks or safety systems are impaired. So never keep critical safety systems bypassed. So if you are bypassing the safety critical system, then you are avoiding. Then we are asking from the problem. The designer has incorporated in the design various layers of protection, various safety instrumentation interlocks. Like the safety instrumentation interlocks are kept bypassed, then you are inviting problem. And then another thing is that analyze if there are frequent process upsets. If there are upsets in the pipeline, if there are upsets in the booster pumping stations, go into the deep root as to why the upset is taking place, and go to the root cause, try to identify as to why did it happen. That is if we adapt to that philosophy, I'm sure we'll be able to go for a safe and reliable operation, and therefore there will be no disaster at all. Analyze equipment failure to determine the cause of the failures. This I have just spoken about it. So treat failure statistics in an actuarial manner. That's the answer. I will talk about a pipeline case study, and through this pipeline case study, I will initiate the disaster which had happened in a pipeline. In a pipeline, which high pressure pipeline, and as you could see in the picture, the pipeline which was carrying natural gas, there is a fish mouth opening of the pipeline. So look at the catastrophic incident which happened, and natural gas continued to burn for hours. And as a result, what happened is, Mahabharata said, protection to the environment. See, huge number of damage to the environment. So this is what the catastrophic incident which has happened place in high pressure natural gas pipeline. I will share the case study. Let's learn from this case study and what should be done to avoid such of incidents. An incident of fire followed by explosion took place in an 18-inch pipeline which was carrying natural gas. Now this was carrying natural gas from a wellhead in the south of India at a pressure of 48 kg per centimeter square. The gas from the oilhead was fed into the pipeline, and through the cross-country pipeline, it used to feed the natural gas to various downstream industries like power plants and some petrochemical units. So it's a cross-country pipeline which is feeding the natural gas at a pressure of 45 kg per centimeter square to various downstream units. The catastrophic incident resulted in multiple fatalities and substantial loss of property. These are direct loss. Indirect loss was, for a huge number of days, more than 3 or 4 months, there was no production. And the downstream factories like the power plant, etc., which to get the natural gas from this pipeline, they were unfed. The fire took place in an early morning, and the source of the ignition, I was the member of the investigation team. The source of the ignition was from a nearby shop. The shop owner lighted the stove for making tea early in the morning, and then the incident took place. I will discuss in more detail. It took more than 3 hours for the firefighters, and therefore, when we talk about emergency response system, emergency ERDMP, it's very, very important to have mutual aid partners. And the oil company had the mutual aid partners. The various fire tenders from nearby industries rushed to the site to firefight the huge fire, as well as from the state administration also helped, came and supported. So for disaster management, it is very important to have mutual aid, because a company may not have sufficient equipment or sufficient facility to fight such a mega fire, such a catastrophic fire. So therefore, you need to have a support system from other oil companies, from the state. So the firefighters, many firefighters, many fire tenders came, and it took more than 3 hours. You can imagine that the nature or the magnitude of the fire. The pipeline, which I showed you, there was a fish mouth opening, was passing below a canal. Now I will tell you what we observed and what was the lessons learned. It was observed that there was water and condensate along with the natural gas. Natural gas contains some amount of condensate and some amount of moisture. So the natural gas which was being fed to the pipeline contains some water and natural gas. The test report which we did for the gas also indicated a presence of CO2. Please check this. We have CO2, we have water and condensate. The pipeline was operating at low capacity. My pipeline friends, you know, if it is operating at a low capacity, it means low velocity of gases, and low velocity of any fluid in any pipeline enhances the corrosion. So therefore, there was an internal corrosion noted in the pipeline. There are 2 reasons for this. I will come to the reasons. And we also found that there was some external damage on the other side of the pipeline. When we went into the investigation, we found that there was some coating damages also. So the external coating was damaged, and then there was some corrosion there also. There was past incidents of leak at 6 o'clock position in the same place where the disaster took place, where the leak took place. There were repeated number of times at the 6 o'clock position of the pipeline. there were leak of natural gas, and every time the operator of the company repaired the pipeline by clamping. IOC friends and NIDM, they all know what is clamping mean. Clamping means a temporary arrangement for checking the leaks, for reducing the leaks. So 6 o'clock position, there used to be leak, and every time clamping was done by the contractor. So what happened is, one early morning, there was profuse natural gas leak from the same clamp 6 o'clock position. It was an overcast morning, so natural gas could not escape. And then, as I said, early morning, the tea owner lighted the stove. As a result, there was a backfire, and there was a devastating fire that followed by a huge explosion. And over the picture, large areas totally burned. Luckily, there was a school nearby also. And then, because it was early in the morning, had it been 8 a.m. in the morning or 8:30 a.m. in the morning, the disaster would have been.
Excuse me, sir.
The fatalities would have been. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Due to time constraint, you have 5 minutes more, sir.
Yeah, I will tell you. Yeah, don't worry.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
What went wrong is, we went wrong in the maintenance philosophy. There were a number of times there was leak in the high pressure pipeline, and every time we resorted to this clamp. High pressure pipeline 45 kg should not be allowed a clamping. There are sectionalizing valves provided in the pipeline to isolate that portion, so that you can reduce the extent of damage, you can reduce the extent of fire. But those remote operated sectionalizing valve which were provided in design did not function. So some operator had to go by manually close the valves, and therefore precious time was lost. And this loss of time resulted in more fire. Operational philosophy, proper pigs were not used. Instead of using scrapper pig, foam pigs were used by the operator. Foam pigs cannot be used for cleaning the pipeline. Pigging was not carried out at regular intervals. Mahawat talked about it. I am re-emphasizing it. And pig residue analysis was not done. Had we done the pig residue analysis, it should have shown the iron content in the pipeline. Other part is very, very important, is the design consideration. The pipeline in the designer has envisaged that you cannot feed the wet natural gas in the pipelines, because H2O and CO2 forms low bicarbonic acid. If these low pH bicarbonic acid, low carbonic acid will corrode the pipeline. So they had provided a dryer so that wet gas is dried and then the dry gas is put to the system, but the dryer was not installed. And as I have mentioned, that there was corrosion due to carbonic acid and external corrosion, internal corrosion. Mahavatji has talked about IPS. The IPS was conducted 4 years prior to the failure, but the operator ignored as he has rightly mentioned, we don't read. That's the problem. The IPS report was not properly read. One of the vital recommendation of the IPS report was you need to dose corrosion inhibitor to mitigate the internal corrosion, which was not done. So these are some of the things which resulted in the failure of the pipeline. So lessons learned is scrapper pigging must always be done as per the standard. Instrumented pig survey must be carried out once in 10 years to avoid any catastrophic incidents. This must be done. Corrosion coupon must be installed, and pipeline integrity management system should be prepared, institutionalized, and followed for assuring the health of the pipeline. These are some of the very important things. A comprehensive procedure. Every company has a year DMP, and thank God that each of IOC, HPC, BPC, Oil India, GAIL, etc., has that year DMP. The issue is that year DMP in times of catastrophic failure, we need to do QRA, and we need to do QRA after every 5 years, and we need to get the QRA done by a good consultant. So what has happened, I have seen that people, the operators does that QRA through many consultants of not repute, and thereby the QRA reports and the RDMP prepared thereof will not be of high standards. Please do avoid that. Deploy the best consultant to do the QRA, and based on the QRA, if we are doing a DMP, the things will be much better. All the encroachment and construction in the ROU, right of use, must be removed. That's a great challenge to the oil industry. The help of the state government, the help of NIDM, etc., is required to remove those encroachments, because that poses a great danger. Any change in the design parameter must only be incorporated through a management of change. We did not do the management of change. Therefore, dehydration facility was not provided or not installed, although it was in the design. Pipeline which are more than 25 years, residual life assessment must be done, and then feed analysis, IPS, pressure testing, CP monitoring, soil testing, risk assessment, very, very important, should be done at a continuous interval. I will just talk about the culture. Why such type of errors happen? Errors happen because of poor safety culture, absence of safety leadership. The Mahavar has spoke that we don't report. Now, if you are not reporting the incidents, how will you learn from the incidents? So if you're hiding the things, we are not going to do any justice to it. So pull things from under the carpet, address it, and then we learn from them. So lack of reporting system, is it due to high stress? Is it due to lack of motivation? Or is it due to lack of training and education that errors take place? So it's one word, it is related to organizational culture. And when you talk about organizational culture, leadership is paramount. Do leaders walk the talk? Are they role models? Do leaders provide resources, or leader only asks for give me this throughput and give me this sales and give me this throughput? No, leader's job is to provide resources. Leader's job is to provide direction. Leader's job is to do walk the talk. If leader says that if there is an unsafe situation, stop the operation, and in private he scolds that operator or first line supervisor as to why did you stop the operation, then he is not walking the talk. So leadership commitment is very important. We need to build trust. You must operate from that I am okay and you are okay. I have confidence in myself, and I have trust and confidence in my subordinate. Through that way, you can build team, you can build trust and build a team. We must develop a safety management system. That is very, very important, and measure the safety management system, implement the safety management system. Things which are measured and monitored gets implemented. So therefore, many companies have the safety management system like ERDMP, etc., but we need to periodically go through it, update it, measure it, monitor it, and share the results, share the success stories. That will build a team which will be a highly motivated team, and that will help us in avoiding any sort of unsafe situations and disasters thereof. So this is a unique pipeline case study which I thought I will share with the pipeliners as to what went wrong, what are the learnings from this, some of the basic things I have spoken about it. And finally, I will talk about attributes of high reliable organization, because I believe that high reliable organization accepts a much higher level of false alarms. Don't ignore the alarms. That's what Mahavar said. I go repeat on that thing, that high reliable organization gives a strong response to weak signals. They set threshold limit for intervening very, very low. Does not seem right, something does not seem right, they stop operation and investigate. High reliable organization accept a much higher level of false alarms. And therefore, HROs do not ignore any failure. It is necessary to address any level of technical, human, and process failure immediately and completely. HRO do not explain away from problems. Instead, they conduct root cause analysis and reject simple diagnostics. You must go to the root cause analysis. Ask the 5 questions as to why did it happen? Why did it happen? Ask 5 times why. We will get to know as to what was the root cause of the failure. Sensitivity to operation. HRO understand that the best picture of the current situation, especially an unexpected one, comes from the frontline supervisors, because the man behind the machine knows the best. So therefore, the first line supervisors or the first line managers, the managers, they know it. So get involved in commitment to resilience. Resilience in HRO means the ability to anticipate troubles. You need to anticipate troubles and improvise when the unexpected occurs. So that's way we can improve upon improve upon the safety. We can avoid disasters. And the most important thing is expertise rather than authority takes priority in high reliable organizations. When conditions are high risk and circumstances, the domain knowledge is very, very important. On the ground, subject matter experts are essential. So for urgent situation assessment and response, and IOC pipeline and many other pipelines have huge knowledge base. So focus on the domain knowledge, focus on the subject matter persons who have the expertise, and through their expertise, we will be able to achieve a safe situation. We will be able to remove the unsafe situations, and therefore we will be able to avoid disasters. And my final slide, way forward, which I could not put it because my computer gave some problem in the morning. Let me share the final way forward, which NIDM, which we will speak, but we'll be able to do this. This is my live slide. Last point, I will take 2-3 minutes. We must do the QRA. Every oil company has URDMP, but we must do the QRA at a specific interval, 5 years, or if any new major facilities have come, we must redo the QRA. And that QRA quantitative risk assessment must be done by a consultant of repute. There are mushroom of consultants which has come up in the market, and this mushroom of contract consultants prepare QRA as operators want. Please do avoid that. So do the QRA. Number two thing is continuously do the on-site and off-site mock drills. That's very, very important, because through this mock drills and organizing the debriefing sessions will help us to be continuously prepared to fight an emergency situation. That's very, very important. So conduct the on-site mock drills once in a quarter, off-site mock drill once in 6 months, and involve the district administration and all others, the hospital, district administration, police authorities, in pollution control people, and do the off-site mock drill religiously based on the QRA. Based on the QRA, update the ERDMP constantly and organize a debriefing session. That's number two thing which I am about. Third important thing is, I always say, stick to the fundamentals. Keep it simple. Don't ignore the design issues. Don't ignore the operation issues. Don't ignore the maintenance issues. That's very, very important. And important thing is focus on human resources. Today, NIDM is doing a wonderful thing of training and educating people. So focus on training, retraining, learn, unlearn, and relearn in the strategy. So we need to unlearn, learn, and relearn. So therefore, continuous training is very, very important. And fourth and the last point, which I wanted to say is, that's very important, NIDM may take a call. Where there are industries, conglomerate of industries, and we have conglomerate of industries in various, in Gujarat and Maharashtra and various other locations, we have conglomerate industries. We have IOC, HPC, BPC, all put together. There we need to set up an emergency response center. And setting up of emergency response center will help us in mitigating the disasters, or in case there is a catastrophic incident, we will be able to reduce the impact of that catastrophic incidents. And therefore, setting up of emergency response center is very, very important. I have the full details with how we can set up emergency centers for industries at conglomerate at some locations to overcome these things. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being patient. I've taken some more. Might have workshop sometime. Any questions, one or two questions, I will answer now, and then I will go back. Thanks, NIDM, once again, and thank you all the participants and all the delegates for being patient.
Thank you very much, sir, for enlightening our participants about pipeline safety model and management. Sir, currently there are no questions raised by the participants, but if there will be any question, I'll let you know, sir. Once again, thank you very much, sir, to joining us. Now, moving to our next presentation, we have with us Dr. Jagmohan Singh, PhD from Punjab University, Chandigarh. Sir is well-known geoscientist, academician, and oil explorionist in India. Dr. Singh had dominant role in the oil exploration industry of India for last 4 decades. Worked at Oil and Natural Gas Corporation of India for 36 years in various capacity while superannuated as a chief general manager. A very active and energetic person, always ready to meet challenges in foresight. Sir worked internationally in France, UK, and Middle East. Now I would request Dr. Singh to take over and enlighten our participant with his vast experience and knowledge. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, team. National Disaster Management Institute. Am I audible and seen on the screen?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much, team Disaster Management Institute. Thanks to Professor Surya Prakash ji for inviting me. And you just had 2 giants from the industry, Director ONGC Ved Prakash Mahawar Saab and Datta Saab. They have spoken very well on the subject. So I take this opportunity for taking this further. This is a sort of sensitization program where we try to understand the disaster management, its importance, mitigation, rules and regulations, everything. So how can I start with my presentation? Shall I open on my computer or NID can do it?
So you can open it from your end, sir.
Is this visible?
Not yet, sir. Sir, you have to go to the share content option, sir. On the downside, if you can see, sir, there is a mic option, there is a start video option, and the third option is share content.
Yes.
So you have to click that, sir, and you have to select your presentations.
Yes. How do I select this? I don't have experience on this.
So it is taking some time. Yes. Is your PPT already open, sir?
Pardon?
Your presentation is already open in some other window. Like yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your presentation is visible, sir.
Okay, good. I'm happy that.
You can make it full screen, sir.
Yes. Oh. Yes.
Yes, sir.
So, this presentation is visible to all?
Yes, sir. Your presentation is visible and you are audible too, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So I start by saying that the major activities in hydrocarbon sector are refining, petrochemicals, upstream, gas process, and terminal distribution. These are the 5 main activities hydrocarbon sector deals with, and we need to concentrate on these for further regulation on disaster management and other things. Just a minute. I'm not able to get next slide. Oh, yeah. Just a minute. Yes. In oil and industry, the disaster taking place is very natural and very much possible. So every possibility of mitigating it in advance is required. So it's a potentially very high risk area. And the loss to the life, property, and the environment, if the activity is not controlled and regulated appropriately, is always there. Moreover, the gas leakage that frequently occurs in the industry leads to conflicts and casualties. In addition to risks, hazards entail a potency of turning into disasters. Disasters are certainly not possible to be avoided and can occur at any time, but their circumstances be anticipated by considering the risks at the level of toughness. Natural hazards is the harm caused by the factors related to climatic and geographical aspects. The technological hazard is the harm caused by technological and industrial accidents. Also, the presence of dangerous procedures, infrastructure failures, and other events that may cause loss of life or injuries, property damage, social and economic disruptions, as well as environmental degradations. Environmental degradation is deterioration process of natural resources or an adverse alteration of natural ecosystems caused by human activities and behaviors, sometimes even combined with natural disasters. So we have to take care of what can be the natural disasters by studying from previous as well as the possibilities, and then we have to see the technological. So we'll be discussing these two further in my presentation. The application of strategy for dealing with disasters can help to minimize their impacts. Hence, disaster risk assessments must be performed along with the risk analysis, which Datta Saab highlighted in a very detailed manner. I appreciate that. Yes. In the Coming to IOC, the downstream sector and for the pipelines, the hydrocarbon business involves very complex risks and hazards, potentially leading to disasters. These risks can certainly be anticipated with the application of risk management, but an unsystematic and ineffective implementation of risk management will still bring adverse impacts. So what I really mean is that the risk management has to be implemented in a very, very meticulous way, the way Mahavar Saab has shared with us his lifetime experience, that how to do it and how fast to do it, who should be the nodal person. Everything should be in a very, very meticulously designed in a very, very standard manner to protect us, to protect from hazards. So accordingly, there are 11 risk management principles in ISO 31000:2009. The application of risk management must pay attention to all aspects, both internal as well as external. These 11 risk management principles are to establish and sustain values, integral part of organizational processes. These should be the integral part of the organizational process. Risk management should be part of decision making in the company. Risk management especially addresses uncertainty. Risk management should be a systematic, structured, and timely action-based. Risk management should be based on available information, all available information. Every bit of information is important for the decision maker and for the team to go ahead. Risk management is tailored, is well designed. Risk management takes human and cultural factors into account. Risk management is a transparent and inclusive. Risk management is a dynamic, iterative, and responsive to change. Risk management facilitates continual improvement of the organization. These are the 11 principles outlined in the ISO 31000:2009, and most of the companies and most of the even down in the sections have followed this, but we have to make sure that the entire team, the decision maker and down the line worker, everyone is sensitized and realize the importance of these principles and follow them in toto. For risk mitigation, currently the leading oil and gas companies might have applied the risk management complied with ISO 31000:2009 as a framework that can integrate various management processes, including the management of health, safety, environment risk to achieve sustainable development. It cannot be denied, nonetheless, that the activities that continue to this day still cause negative impacts, particularly for the surrounding environments. In addition, international oil and gas companies nowadays place more emphasis on preventive measures than coping methods. As in the morning lecture, Professor Surya Prakash has said that you spend 1 rupee to save 10 to 100 rupees. So the preventive measures is the same thing. So coping of these costs much higher when the event occurs. So as the executive director of IOC has explained that they had very few or very less or almost negligible accidents, though they are dealing with 15,000 kilometers approximately of the pipelines in the country. It is very good. My hearty congratulations for this success. But at the same time, Datta Saab also told that the last 60 years we have run it successfully. But what is the international experience? International experience says that the accident curve is top type. Top type means in the initial phase, the world had seen a lot of accidents, a lot of disasters, but last several years, possibly at most of the places, have remained safe. But now, when everything has become old, even the machinery, even the pipelines, even the people. People retire out and the new people are coming up. So the accidents, which are repeating accidents, those accidents are more experience goes to the people who are working, not to the organization. Organizations are not learning, it's the people who are learning. If people leave the company for any reason, there is a big loss to the company that needs to be compensated. Then we have to take care of sustainable development goals. These are the 17 sustainable goals which UN agencies have made, and they are fundamental and they need to be followed by us. I'm not going into detail of each of them. We should be all aware of these goals and need to take care of them. It's a 2010 accident which took place in a British Petroleum drilling a well in US offshore. If you go into the detail, the accident, this major accident where huge spillage of oil and entire world was shaken, US was shaken, BP was almost suffered a big loss. If you go into the detail, the reason was that the well, having found that it was a high pressure well was plugged. When we leave a well, we plug it, and move the rig. The only mistake was that the full waiting on cementation for the time for the plug to dry up was not given. There is always a hurry. There is always a pressure of progress to move the rig to the next site. So this you call it minor or accident, but the accident was major. But the decision was taken little hurriedly, possibly. This is a very recent accident in Lebanon, Beirut, where 2,700 tons of ammonium nitrate was piled up from a ship following the regulations of the country that they cannot carry or something. And then it was lying for years for the decision to be made where to shift it or not, resulting into an accident leading to death of about 200 people. So we have to follow the full circle of safety measurements before we take any action. So the little more discussion on the natural hazards leading to the pipeline accident. They are characterized under the category NATEC. NATEC, the natural events such as earthquakes, floods, and lightning can cause accidents in oil and gas transport pipelines with potentially adverse secondary consequences to the population, environment, and industrial activity itself. It would be desirable that information on pipeline incidents and their consequences be collected at a central level in India and made available for lessons learning research. So it's a very practical aspect of what National Disaster Management Institute is doing for this country. And for purely making legislation may not be sufficient. All the sensitive data or all bits of data needs to be collected for safe operations in the country. Using the limited data available, the analysis results shows that landslides and floods seem to pose a biggest threats to both oil and gas pipelines. Lightning is also a threat with high ignition probability in case of gas releases, as well as hot, cold weathers. India has both weathers. Europe, US have probably more cold weather. India has hot and cold weather. So protecting pipelines from weather is also important, which was identified as the main hazard for the pipeline in the natural events accident data set. NATEC scenario development in pipelines and for formulation of prevention and mitigation measures need to be studied at length. The other possible accidents are a vessel hitting an exposed pipeline the vessel operators dropping or dragging an object such as an anchor or a heavy tool on a pipeline, pipelines leaking because of corrosion, a pipeline damaged by forces of waves and disturbance of the seafloor in storms and hurricanes. These, as you can understand, as you have the experience, you can always question yourself, are these accidents repetitive? Are we continuously learning from accidents? So if we pile up all this data, it will help us in following the ISO 31000 guidelines to protect us from accidents and disasters. So now coming to the limitations or the pressures or the strain we have, the each and every company needs to be run into profit, but for safety, for making the things at a very high quality, we have to spend more. For maintenance, we have to spend more. So our limitations are downstream margins are positively affected by drops in oil prices, and this can result in refineries being pushed to operate at a great capacity, potentially contributing to the frequency of large losses, utilization versus crude price, deterioration of engineering standards over the last decade. Some of you may feel offended by I'm saying this, but this is a natural thing. You see in every phase of the life, you try to buy cheaper things in a good quality. So there is a more of a show off. There's a gradual drop in quality of the material we are buying. Same thing is happening here also. So we need to maintain high engineering standard in our procurement, in our testing, and which can help us in more safe working. So we have to ensure best practice metallurgy to current industry standards. So you do not have new accidents, you just have old accidents happening to new people, as I explained in earlier. Organizations do not learn from this past, individual learn, but they leave the organization taking knowledge with them. How do we avoid history from repeating itself? A continued focus on process safety and commitment to learn from losses at all levels of the organization is required. So ISO guidelines, I have worked with ISO as an auditor for several years. So these are the general things, but they are very important. You have to observe that you are continually improving your system of work. Fire protection is also becoming stronger and stronger. The response plan and emergency response plan both are very active. The way Mahavar Sahab just now explained, the response plan and emergency response plan and its system should be very strong. Our inspection department should really check the material to the micro detailing so that we get the best material. In most of the government and public sector companies, we have L1 procedures, and at L1 you have to make sure at the same time you get a good material, and some exceptions can be made to that. So, inspection program should be designed by qualified inspections and corrosion engineers, along with accredited qualification of those conducting inspections are all essential requirements. So this is the brief presentation I wanted to make and sensitize the IOC pipeline department that for every information you collect is important to make the entire operation safe. And ONGC also keeps eye on their pipelines, and we have seen that the corrosion and deposition in the pipelines is very frequent. The way our blood runs in our heart, the doctor one day says that the arteries are clogged. Same thing happens in the pipelines. We have cut the pipelines and found that 6-inch pipeline has a hole of 1 inch inside and 5 inches blocked. So which makes the pressure high and which causes the accident. So we need to share our experiences with the organization and make our operations safe. Good luck and thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, currently there are no questions raised by the participants. So with this,
Dr. Ajit, I have a
yes,
question to Dr. Jagmohan ji.
Okay, sir.
I was looking at ISO 31000. 2018, I think there is a revision of 2009 version. So, sir, is it now acceptable, the 2018 revision of the ISO 31000 for practice purposes?
Professor Surya Prakash, I am not very much in touch with 2018. I read the 2009 one and shown the 11 guidelines. Even if the 2018 comes, the guidelines will broadly remain the same most likely, but if there are more guidelines or some of them have been changed, need to be taken care of. What I'm saying that you need to hire qualified auditors, and there are companies who are working on this. And I have worked several years as an auditor, internal auditor in ONGC, and we must take note of the things very carefully, sensitize our team, and make the operations as safe as possible. ISO system really helps, and sometimes people sitting at the top level, middle level, or low level do not realize the importance of this, and that is required. We must realize importance of these laid down internationally. They are for us. They are for our safety. By following them, we will be able to avoid disasters and make things much better.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, request to delegates to look into 2018 ISO 31000 now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. With this, we have come to end of our technical session. As we are already exceeded the time, we will quickly wrap up the today's session with vote of thanks from Mr. Raju Thapa, Young Professional NIDM. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Harjeet Kaur. And it is my utmost pleasure to propose the vote of thanks in this very important gathering. First of all, I wish to express my sincere gratitude to Mr. Rajiv Ranjanji, CGM, HRD, LND, and CSR, IOCL, Mr. MR Duvedi, CGM, HSC, IOCL, Mr. Aparna Anand, CGM, Pipeline, HOCL, and Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, ED, NIDM, for their encouragement and support to organize this webinar. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for our distinguished speakers, Shri VP Mahavar, former Director ONGC, Shri Hirak Datta, ex-IOC, former ED, OISD, MOPNG, and former Advisor and Head Safety, Naira Energy, and also Dr. Jagmohan Singh, ex-Chief General Manager, Geology, ONGC, and Mr. Anil Kathet, Young Professional NIDM, for their presence in the technical session to enlighten our participants with their vast knowledge and experience. I also express my deep sense of appreciation to Professor Surya Prakash, Head GMR Division NIDM, who is also the chair of this webinar, for his constant motivation and support in our every endeavors. I must extend our sincere thanks to Dipti Sahadev from IOCL for moderating the inaugural session and for her constant coordination and extended support in organizing of this webinar. We cannot thank enough to our dear participants who joined us in this today's session, and without their presence in this program, it wouldn't be possible. And I hope they have some key takeaway points from today's sessions that they will discuss with their colleagues and families. Last but not the least, I'm also thankful to our GMRD team Dr. Harjeet Kaur, who is the moderator of today's technical session, Mr. Anil Kathet, who is the coordinator of this webinar, and also our ID team, Sovit, Balaji, and Gaurav, for making this event very successful one. So and last, on behalf of NIDM and IOCL, we wish all the participants a healthy and safe life. Stay safe and stay healthy. 2 गज की दूरी और मास्क है जरूरी to fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Harjeet Kaur. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Raju Thapa. Now this webinar is, the meeting is closed. So I request host to close the meeting. Thank you all.
Okay, Dr. Harjeet Kaur. Thank you. I will end the meeting now. Thank you, everybody.